Hey, I'm Luis Perez, and I'm from Yes Nick Racing, and we're gonna unbox a new Fullerton TF2 right after this. Alright, first thing we gotta do, we gotta open the box. Alright, now let's see what's in the box. Alright, now we gotta pull out our Fullerton TF2 chassis. Alright, here's the chassis. So now let's go over a few aspects of the Fullerton TF2S. Alright, so every Fullerton chassis comes already upgraded with the magnesium front hubs. Yeah, so as we can see, our Fullerton chassis have our logo in the pedals, heel stops, pretty much all over the chassis. It's from Freeline, but crafted by Terry Fullerton. So as we can see, a lot of the components are from Freeline. So now let's go through the parts. All right, so the chassis comes with two side pods. You get your front and rear bumper, your driver's panel. Then we got our wheels, steering wheel, our seat, and the Nerf bars and bars you need to put everything together. Now let's get to the building. All right, so this box has all the small components that we need to complete the Go Kart. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna organize all of our parts. So as you can see here, I got all the parts lined up from front to back. Now let's start putting them on the kart. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna put this front bar for the front bumper. So let's get to it. In order to install this part, we're gonna need a 4mm T-handle and a 10mm wrench. All right, now that we got the front bumper bars on, let's get down to the steering. So the TF2 comes with, all the steering components you're gonna need. These are your tie rods, your steering shaft, and your steering wheel hub, and all the necessary hardware to hold everything together. So let's go ahead and mount it now. All right, so now we got our steering hardware organized. Now we're gonna bolt it onto the chassis. So the only tool you need to use for putting on the steering shaft is just a 13mm wrench. And yeah, all you do is stick it in through here and just steer or turn the steering shaft over. So next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna start connecting the spindles to the steering shaft, and by doing that, we're gonna need some tie rods. All right, so these are the tie rods for the Go Kart. Notice how they're two different sizes. This top one right here is a 265, this bottom one's a 255, and we'll get to explain that later. Reason why these tie rods are two different lengths is because the chassis, or the steering and where the driver sit, is not actually in the center. He's offsetted. We want a weight distribution going, so a lot of this stuff is slightly over to the left. So now let's go ahead and mount these tie rods properly. So the tools we needed to tighten up all the steering components is a 13mm wrench and a 5mm Allen wrench. So now we put the bolt to connect the spindle to the tie rod. So now we're connecting the steering shaft to the spindle by using this tie rod. So next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna install the steering wheel hub. So the tools we're gonna need is a 5mm Allen wrench and a 10mm wrench. Here we go. So now let's install the front driver's panel bracket. The two tools that we need for this job is two 13mm wrenches. So next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna put the front fairing pin in. All right, so the two tools you need for this one is a 10mm wrench and a 13mm wrench. All right, so next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna put these mounts on this bumper and mount it on the Go Kart. And there you go. So now we're gonna put the bumper onto the chassis. To secure the bumper, we're gonna use these clamps right here. So next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna mount the driver's panel. Here, good. So next up, we're gonna get the rest of the bodywork on the Go Kart. what we're gonna do next is the side pods. So first thing is we gotta put the rubber inserts on the tubes. All right, so now that we got our rubber inserts in, it's time to put the side pods on. All right, so the tools we need to attach the bumper to the Nerf bar, it's just a 13mm socket. All right, so next thing we're gonna do, now we got both of these attached, we're gonna go ahead and put them on the chassis. So to hold the bumpers onto the chassis, what we're gonna be using is springs. Now attach it. So next thing we're gonna mount is the chain guard. But before we put this on, we gotta mount the brackets. So tools we need to mount the chain guard bracket is two 13mm wrenches. This is a second piece to the bracket. Let's go ahead and mount the second piece that attaches onto the chain guard, and that'll complete our setup. Put this on the go-kart. Tools you'll need just to install this, it's just a 2.5mm T-handle or Allen wrench and an 8mm wrench. Tools we need to tighten this down is just a 10mm wrench. All right, now let's install the chain guard. Next parts we're gonna put on the go-kart is the rear hubs. So we're gonna put the hub on the axle. Gonna put it in. So the tool we need to tighten these hubs is a 6mm Allen wrench. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna mount the rear bumper hardware. Let's get to it. So now we're gonna insert the bracket into the chassis, just like this. Next, we're gonna use this 8mm Allen wrench and we're gonna tighten it up. So next thing we're gonna do is gonna finish off with the brackets that hook up to the bumper. So the tool we're gonna need to tighten these brackets down is a 13mm wrench. So next thing we're gonna do, drill these holes right here that we see, stick bolts in through it and attach it to the brackets we just put on. Next up, we're gonna get these bolts and we're gonna attach the bumper to the brackets. So tools we need to mount the plastic bumper is a 5mm Allen key and a 13mm wrench. So now we're gonna put the seat on the go-kart. All right, now let's unbox the wheels. These. All right, next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna mount the exhaust bracket. So let's get to it. For the tools that we need for this job is two 13mm wrenches. Got the hardware on here. Let's mount it onto the hub. For the tools we need to bolt down the steering wheel is a 4mm Allen key and a 10mm wrench. And that was the build of the Fullerton TF2 chassis. We'll see you next time, and make sure you guys follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Yes Nick Racing. And if you guys ever need parts for your go-kart, go to yesnickracing.com. We'll take care of you. And stay tuned. We'll see you in the next video.